What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, June 18th, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 15:16 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Europe and Asia. So today we have U.S. nuclear forces on high alert again. We had several B-52 nuclear bombers airborne this afternoon and this morning over the United States. We also had several B-52 bombers airborne over Europe last night. We currently have nuclear attack options broadcasting. So I'm going to be monitoring the situation, and it does look like something big is about to happen in the coming days. So if anything happens, I will go live, but I do have some credible information that Russia is preparing a massive counteroffensive in the Kharkiv direction. Notable sources are indicating large amounts of equipment and soldiers being shifted out of Belarus and being staged in Belgorod, and an unusually large amount of blood supplies are being shipped into Belgorod, Bryansk, and Kursk oblasts, and also makeshift hospitals are going up. This is the same thing that Russia did months before their initial invasion into Ukraine 2 years ago. It appears this offensive will be targeting Kyiv all the way to Kharkiv in the hopes of finally opening up the northern front in Ukraine. And the Belarus military is making big movements as well. Belarusian sources are noting large troop movements in the border regions of Belarus. So it looks like something big is about to go down. Putin visited China, then he visited Belarus, now he's in North Korea. And my big concern is that they're all going to start some kind of multi-front war where Russia's going to start their big offensive in Ukraine, Belarus is going to attack Lithuania, China's going to attack Taiwan, and North Korea is going to attack South Korea, okay? But we have some very concerning news coming out of NATO. What we have here is a video clip of the leader of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, slipping up in an interview yesterday saying that Ukrainian F-16s will be piloted by NATO pilots, and this came just a day after his statements that NATO's nuclear weapons have been put into operational readiness and that NATO needs to increase the size of its nuclear arsenal. So let me just play this clip for you so you can hear it for yourself.
The fact that they're now delivering F-16s, of course, it will create a future Ukrainian Air Force that will be NATO interoperable. NATO planes, NATO pilots, NATO trained pilots.
So you hear what he says here, NATO planes, NATO pilots, and then he corrects himself and says NATO trained pilots, okay?
NATO trained pilots and planes, NATO pilots, NATO interoperable. NATO planes, NATO pilots, NATO trained pilots. 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 NATO planes, NATO pilots, NATO trained pilots.
So this is very, very serious, guys, okay? And here we have a decree that was signed by Russian President Vladimir Putin on strategic cooperation with North Korea. This was signed yesterday, and here we have a translation of it. Okay, order of the President of the Russian Federation on the signing of the comprehensive strategic partnership agreement between the Russian Federation and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Guys, there's a bad turbulence ahead. The economy is a minefield right now, ready to detonate and destroy the wealth and dreams of the unprepared. Bank failures, de-dollarization, and debt. But amidst the chaos, a beacon of hope emerges. Kevin Sorbo, screen legend Hercules, Christian actor and outspoken activist for the people, with his economic crisis toolkit crafted in partnership with the experts at Noble Gold, Sorbo, is now on a mission to help everyday Americans navigate the coming nightmare. This shock-proof toolkit is your compass through the turmoil, with recession-proof strategies, inflation-busting techniques, and opportunity-seizing skills to help you not just survive, but thrive in the bedlam. The crisis threatens to derail your financial future, but you can now stay on track and emerge stronger than ever. And the best part, this shield of knowledge is yours, absolutely free. Don't become another casualty. Enlist in Sorbo's Wealth Warrior ranks today and arm yourself with the tools and tactics you need to protect your hard-earned assets. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com now and sign up for the Economic Crisis Toolkit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. And I'm going to leave a link in the description and in the comments below this video. So this is very, very serious, guys, okay? This allows North Korea to now receive Russian nuclear weapons, Russian nuclear bombers, Russian nuclear scientists, and in exchange, North Korea can give Russia millions and millions of rounds of artillery and short-range ballistic missiles, which is what they've been doing already. And speaking of North Korea, we had a very serious situation last night. Apparently, North Korean troops tried crossing the border into South Korea, but were injured or killed by landmines. This was reported by the South Korean military. No further details were reported. And in a separate incident yesterday, the Yonhap news agency reported that South Korea's military had fired warning shots at a group of 20 to 30 North Korean soldiers that crossed into South Korea, which is the second such incident in the past 2 weeks. Okay, so this is crazy, guys. So the situation in North Korea is escalating, and South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff have confirmed that North Korea has deployed a large amount of troops to various areas along the DMZ. And they've also been building roads and bridges and anti-tank obstacles. And they also have tunnels, by the way, under the DMZ. A lot of people don't know that, but North Korea actually has tunnels under the DMZ so they can quickly get into South Korea. And what you're looking at here is a picture of a Chinese Type 94 nuclear submarine that surfaced in the Taiwan Strait near the median line yesterday. And this picture was taken by a Taiwanese fisherman who happened to be near the sub when it surfaced. It appeared to be in some kind of distress. The submarine is said to have surfaced just to the west of the median line in the Taiwan Strait, where it remained unmoving and on the surface until another Chinese vessel arrived, with them both then heading in the direction of the Chinese mainland. So looks like maybe it had to get towed back to China by the other ship. I don't know, but this is clearly a sign that China is operating nuclear subs all around Taiwan, and those subs have ballistic missiles and cruise missiles that they can launch at Taiwan. Okay, Taiwan has already mined their northern and southern coastlines with sea mines, and they're now conducting training in Taipei City on some of the beaches to prepare to repel beach landings by the Chinese military. They call these beaches red beaches, and a red beach is just a beach that has a high chance of use by Chinese forces as landing spots. So they've been training the last few days on these red beaches to repel Chinese invaders, and then they've also mined their northern and southern coasts with sea mines and their ports as well. Okay, so this is very, very serious. And the Taiwanese defense minister said that he is monitoring the situation in the Taiwan Strait after the appearance of a Chinese nuclear sub. And China could face consequences for its continued support of Russia amidst the ongoing war with Ukraine. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg warned yesterday. Okay, so Jens Stoltenberg is really saying some strong things here First, he talks about building up the nuclear arsenal of NATO, and then he says that NATO's nuclear arsenal is at operational readiness. Then he says that NATO pilots will be flying F-16s. And then he says that China should face consequences for supporting Russia. And the Philippines has announced that one of their sailors was severely wounded when his vessel was attacked by the Chinese Coast Guard while it was on a resupply mission to the BRP Sierra Madre at the 2nd Thomas Shoal. Now, the other day, the Philippine Defense Minister said that if Philippine fishermen were to get killed, or any Philippine national were to get killed in one of these disputes with the Chinese Coast Guard, then that would be considered an act of war, and the Philippines would go to war with China. Okay, so this is a very serious situation between China and the Philippines. And Ukraine destroyed a massive fuel depot in the city of Azov in the Rostov region last night in a large drone attack. And the U.S. is going to be doing another ICBM test tonight. This is going to happen from 5:31 UTC time to 12:41 UTC time. So this is going to be after midnight Eastern time through tomorrow morning. Want to just show you guys these B-52s that were airborne over the United States earlier this afternoon, and also some sub-hunters that were patrolling off the coast of Cuba. So here we have 3 B-52s up in the air. This was earlier this afternoon. This is very, very unusual, guys. And then here we had a Doomsday plane that flew down towards Barksdale Air Force Base, which is very unusual. Barksdale Air Force Base is home of Air Force Global Strike Command. That's the part of the U.S. Air Force that manages our entire air leg of our nuclear triad. So that includes our bomber force and our land-based ICBM force. And here we have an E-6 Mercury Nuclear War Command and Control plane flying over the Ozarks. And then here we have this B-52. So this would be the 4th B-52 in the air, okay? And it flew actually over my part of Pennsylvania, north central PA, and then it went all the way up to Quebec, and it disappeared from the flight tracker over southern Quebec. So who knows where this thing was going? Okay, so that's 4 B-52s airborne so far today, and the Doomsday plane going down to Barksdale Air Force Base is very, very concerning. We also have an RC-135 Rivet Joint, which is a reconnaissance plane flying through the Florida Straits and keeping an eye on Havana and the northern part of Cuba, patrolling the Florida Straits, okay, right down here, flying back and forth in the Florida Straits. You can see 2 P-8 Poseidons heading down towards the Florida Straits, one doing loops down there, another one heading down. The P-8s have been going down to the Florida Straits like clockwork, okay? So they're very concerned about this area if they're sending an RC-135 and P-8s like clockwork. I'm telling you, there's been basically 2 P-8s patrolling the Florida Strait at all times the last couple of days since the Russian subs arrived, okay? And from what a Russian military expert said on Russian state TV, there could be more than one Russian sub in this area, okay? If you think there's just one sub there, then you're dead wrong, okay? Here we have some more P-8 Poseidons that were airborne earlier this morning and late last night. You can see them looping here in the Florida Straits. So, like I said, guys, 2 sub-hunter planes are in this area non-stop, okay, constantly rotating in and out, maintaining constant surveillance of the Florida Straits. Here we have 2 sub-hunters patrolling the Delmarva Peninsula, one flying near the mouth of the Chesapeake, one flying along Assateague Island. This is also extremely unusual for one of these sub-hunters to be flying back and forth hundreds of times like this along Assateague Island. And here were 2 more sub-hunters that went down to the Florida Strait last night. Here we have two B-52s that took off from southern England, from RAF Fairford, and they went north. One of them ended up going all the way up towards northern Norway. The other one turned its flight tracker off somewhere north of Scotland, so I don't know where the second one went, but one of them went all the way up to the Norwegian Sea. Look where it went, guys. Flew all the way up there, and then it turned its transponder off, okay? So our nuclear forces are on very high alert. Something big is about to go down. I'm telling you guys, okay? Putin went to China, then he went to Belarus, now he's in North Korea. So I think when Putin returns to Russia this week, I think as soon as the end of this week, we're going to see this massive multi-front war kick off, potentially, with Russia, Belarus, North Korea, and China all making moves simultaneously. And here we have a P-8 Poseidon that took off from Iceland and flew all the way to the Russian Northern Fleet base on the Kola Peninsula. So that is also very serious. It means that NATO is concerned about the activity of Russia's nuclear-armed submarines. Here we have two NATO AWACS planes, one flying over southern Sweden, one over northwest Poland. Now, this is a new path for the AWACS planes operated by NATO. They never really go up to southern Sweden that often, but this seems to be a new path ever since Russia violated Sweden's airspace in the Gotland Island, okay? Russia literally flew Sukhoi fighter jets into Swedish airspace over the Gotland Island, okay? Here we have a P-8 Poseidon that was flying really low off the northern coast of Scotland, and then we also had three Eurofighter Typhoons patrolling the coastline of Scotland earlier this afternoon, which is extremely unusual. And then here we have a Sub Hunter and a British Eurofighter Typhoon patrolling the eastern Mediterranean. Here we have some more reconnaissance over the Baltic Sea and northern Poland. You can see a Swedish reconnaissance plane flying along the border of Kaliningrad. You can see this German reconnaissance plane with the call sign Pelican. I still can't figure out what kind of plane this is, but it's always going up to the Baltic. My guess is it could be some kind of German sub-hunter. Another Swedish reconnaissance plane flying over the Gotland Island. Here we have a French Air Force military cargo plane going up to Estonia, dropping off supplies before Russia invades. Here we have an Estonian Air Force reconnaissance plane flying all the way up to the Russian border near Narva. This is an area that has a large Russian population and is a very vulnerable area for a Russian attack. Okay, and if Russia were to attack Estonia, they would definitely try to take Narva for sure. Here we have a Polish border guard plane patrolling the border of Poland and Belarus. This is right at the tri-border of Poland, Belarus, and Ukraine. It was hugging the border really tightly here. And then here we have a U.S. Combat Sentinel plane that was flying in the East China Sea, and then a U.S. Air Force reconnaissance plane flying in the Taiwan Strait. This is very concerning, especially the Combat Sentinel plane, because the U.S. Air Force only has like two of them officially. So if one of them is up in the air somewhere, it means something is going down or about to go down. These are high priority reconnaissance planes. They can pick up signals and radar emissions, and they can send that information directly to the president. So they can monitor, let's say, where Chinese forces are located, their missile forces, their radar facilities. Okay, this is extremely concerning. We currently have a tropical cyclone developing in the southern Gulf of Mexico, and it's heading towards southern Texas. A widespread area of 5 to 10 inches of rain is expected across southern Texas. We also have this other disturbance here north of Puerto Rico with a small chance of development, but it does look like the hurricane season is going to be very active this year. Let me show you guys the latest rainfall forecast. You can see Corpus Christi and southern Texas in the 6 to 12 inch range for rainfall, but it does look like Corpus Christi area is going to get hit the hardest with 8 to 12 inches of rain, guys. That is absolutely insane. So get prepared. It's only the beginning of hurricane season, and we're already seeing a tropical storm developing and massive amounts of rain. Want to show you guys the sea surface temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico and in the Caribbean, the Atlantic Basin. You can see how warm the sea temperatures are. The Gulf of Mexico is basically over 80 degrees Fahrenheit, so this is warm enough for hurricanes to develop. Same thing with the Caribbean, and same thing down here going down towards the equator. Okay, so very warm tropical waters so far this year. And that's pretty much it for this one, guys. I will be back later on tonight with more breaking news, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon down below so you get notified when I post these updates. But just make sure you're getting prepared because things are about to get crazy very, very soon. I'm going to be monitoring it all, and if anything happens, I will go live, of course. So until later on, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply has all kinds of prepping and survival products, from potassium iodide to emergency food to water purification, solar generators, everything you can imagine in their general store. And they have special discounts set up just for you, the viewers of NYPrepper. And to get those discounts, you got to use my link, preparewithnyprepper.com. The link is in the description below this video. And once you get to that site, you got to look for the My Patriot Supply logo. You click on that logo and it'll take you to their general store. And right now they're actually doing a $50 discount on the Grid Doctor solar generator. But they have all kinds of discounts here on emergency food, water filters, bug out bag items, potassium iodide. They're actually selling potassium iodide for $10 a bottle with 60 pills in each bottle. That is such a good deal, guys. Normal price, $25 a bottle. So you get yourself a few of those bottles and you have enough potassium iodide for several families. So use the link, preparewithnyprepper.com. And remember, when you get to that page, click on the My Patriot Supply logo to access the general store with all of the discounts.